Okay, Andrew, so nice to have you on.
Yep. Thank you, Charlie.
Um, Richard, wonderful for you to join us. I don't know if we'll have anybody else visiting or not, but I did want to record this because for those who don't come on, I want them to be able to look up some of the stuff that we're talking about. So we were talking about tape and tape residue and the difference between a $10 roll tape and a $2 roll of tape. And the difference is not $8, obviously. There's more to it. It's the cost of labor, it's the cost of time, it's the inefficiencies that that cheap roll of tape creates because of trying to get the adhesive off. And
Yeah.
so now, now we should be able to continue without somebody coming in on
Yeah.
us. What the hell are they talking about?
One way when you talk about the difference of a $10 roll of tape versus a $2 roll, one thing that we found most people see when they do a side-by-side time study, each roll of split tape saves about an hour in cleaning compared to a $2 roll of packing tape or masking tape. So it's kind of a quick way to justify the little bit higher cost of the split tape is that it kind of buys you an hour of cleaning time.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I use your tape whenever I'm doing my workshops and stuff. But every client that I go to pretty much is involved with your tape, even though all of them somewhere along the line have tried something that's less expensive or
Yeah.
that they think is going to be better, like blue tape, which is a very nice tape, other than the fact that it shreds when you try to get it off.
Yeah.
It's got good cushioning. It's great on a manual in terms of on the bottom, so that you don't end up ripping your mesh. But outside of that, it just doesn't do the things you'd like it to do,
Yeah.
which is to be able to remove it easily and to be able to get off all of the adhesive.
It's funny, you used to, I mean, that blue tape was everywhere for a while,
It was.
and you really don't see it much anymore. It-
The cost of it is not even the factor. It's just trying to get it off, especially if you've got a
yeah,
screen that you've had some really good success with and you haven't had to reclaim much, and the tape is still there. Then when you finally go to get it off, it's 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 a disaster.
yeah.
And so the only thing I see people doing is if they're using a manual frame, they'll tape the bottom and then they'll put a strip of the blue tape on so that it adds that extra little cushion,
Uh-huh.
which is kind of a nice thing. I mean, you hate to shred mesh. So,
Yeah.
that's part of it. Talk to me about your new product.
Yeah.
I
So
know
we've
you
got
guys are
our,
always doing
yeah,
something new anyway, and this is certainly something that is of definite interest to me and to a lot of other people.
yeah, it's our brand new palette gel, and it'll come out in about a month or so, sometime in November. But it's a gel adhesive, a sheet that you put straight onto the pallets. There's no need to put a paper pallet tape down first. It just goes right on the pallets. And the cool thing about it, it's got a like 1 millimeter thick gel adhesive, so it's not thick enough to where it's really going to affect your off contact. But it's a really durable, thick adhesive, and it allows you to wipe the lint off, and you can get about 100,000 impressions out of one sheet before you have to throw it away and put on a new one. But the other cool thing about it, we made it color changing. So when the palettes get up to 120 degrees, it actually changes from green to yellow. So you know your palettes are warmed up and at temperature. And if it seems like a lot of people tell us they preheat their palettes at the beginning of the day, and the shop owners can kind of get frustrated because they'll tell the guys, all right, we got to preheat the pallets. And what should be a 15-minute task turns into 45 minutes while it's churning and they're getting coffee and, they're preheating the pallets, but it kind of turns it into a nice like morning stretch. So this turns yellow when the pallets are warmed up. So you know immediately that they're at 120 degrees. And then when it cools, it goes back to green. So throughout the day, if you see that it's starting to turn green, you'll know that your pallets are cooling down a little bit too much. So it kind of gives you that instant feedback throughout the day. And it's also a special adhesive that we formulated for this. It's a really high tack, but a low adhesion. So with that high tack, it grips onto the fibers of the garment really well. But with that low adhesion, it doesn't stretch your shirts when you go to remove them. So, yeah.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, no. So I mean, it's a nice soft release every time, and you're not turning a circle into an oval when you pull the shirt off.
So obviously there's a competitor out on the market that you're working against.
Yep.
They have 3 different types of gel, I guess, a low, a medium, and a high, based on cotton, poly cotton or polyester, and then also for fleece. How does yours hold up in terms of, t-shirts, performance wear, and fleece?
It's a totally different adhesive technology. So with the standard adhesive, if you want different performance, you need a low adhesion, medium adhesion, and a high adhesion. This is all based on tack, which is a different measurement that we do here. With, like, for example, if you're talking about tack versus adhesion, when we measure tack, it's a rolling ball tack test. So there's a little lab ramp, and you actually put a specially weighted metal marble on top of that ramp, hit a button, it releases it, and then you see how far that marble rolls on the tape. It's a pretty old school way of testing it, but that's kind of the industry standard for testing tack. So that's tack. And then adhesion is when you roll a piece of tape onto a stainless steel panel, a 1-inch wide strip, and then you attach that piece of metal to a test stand, and then a force gauge pulls up on that tape, and you're measuring how much force it takes to remove that tape off the stainless. That's adhesion. And you would think they go hand in hand, where, if the marble's not going to roll very far, it's also going to be really sticky, but they're actually opposites. So you can get really high adhesion tapes, but low tack. Like if you ever get the 3M command hooks and you feel that adhesive on there, it has like 0 tack. You touch it and it's like, there's no way this could hold a reef outside, but it has a high adhesion and a high shear strength. So we're kind of playing off of that. And we've got, in this case, a really high tack, but a low adhesion. So that means that this one product will work for all garment types because we're relying on the tack to hold the shirt instead of adhesion. And with that, it works great with polyesters and blends. With fleece, it's just like anything else. Lint's going to build up a lot faster with fleece. So it takes scrubbing more often to get that lint off. And it's naturally just a trickier beast to hold onto a hoodie than it is a t-shirt. But with that high tack, it does grip the fibers of the fleece really well. And we've got a lot of people testing the prototypes, and they like it. And a lot of people are saying that it works well with fleece. And then I'm sure there will be situations where it's not quite sticky enough for really heavy fleeces. And for that, we're working with Easy Way to figure out a chemical that can wipe spray adhesive or water-based adhesive that's put right on the pallet gel, wipe that right off, and then you're back to the pallet gel surface without damaging that adhesive. So Easy Way's doing some testing in their lab to figure out which one of their chemicals would be good to remove an adhesive on top of the pallet gel and get you right back to the original pallet gel after you remove it. So we'll have that too, hopefully, and be able to allow people to put adhesive right on top of the pallet gel and then remove it when they're ready to go back to t-shirts. But ideally, you wouldn't have to do that. I mean, the plan A is being able to print fleeces right on the pallet gel without using any sort of adhesive, because that's the whole idea of the pallet gel, is to eliminate the spray adhesives and the water-based adhesives and the mess that they make. We've designed it to work as well as possible with hoodies and fleece. But if we run into that scenario where people say it's not quite sticky enough, then we plan to have that as an option where you can put glue right on top of it.
So when you say glue on top of it, are you talking about spray adhesives?
spray adhesives and also water-based adhesives. So if
Water-based
you wanted
adhesive,
to
yeah.
card on an adhesive on top of the pallet gel, we're finding a chemical that will clean off that water-based adhesive or that spray adhesive, but yet not damage the adhesive on the gel.
Okay. Well, that sounds interesting. I'm sure Easy Way
Yeah.
is busy on that one.
Yeah. Yeah. They're really helpful in that.
Well, it's right up their alley anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Sean,
But yeah,
you
so
joined
it's
us.
nice to see you, Sean.
How's it going?
You letting your
Good.
hair grow out?
My wife likes it this way.
Okay. I was just
Enough
going to say, I don't remember seeing you have hair for the most part. I mean, it was always a buzz cut.
Yeah, it's getting a little gray, so it accentuates the length now.
Well, the gray is okay. Kind of matches in with the blonde. In any event, sorry about that. I didn't mean to. I just want to say hi.
Hey, I came in a little bit late, so I'm not sure if you already touched on it. You were talking about a gel adhesive that you put on the board that
Right.
it's going to compete with the other ones that are out there.
It's not really a direct comparison to that. It's a totally different technology. It relies on a high tack but a low adhesion, so it grips the fibers of the shirt really well, but doesn't stretch it when you remove it. And still lasts for 100,000 garments. And another cool thing, the patent application just went on file yesterday for this. It changes colors when it's heated to 120 degrees. So you have a quick visual that your pallets are preheated and at temperature.
And it's holding.
And it's holding. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it gives you that quick visual there too.
The other thing
Awesome.
is, with the other stuff, you have 3 different forms based on the type of shirt you're printing. This uses the 1 pallet gel for t-shirts, performance wear, and fleece. So
Exactly.
you never really change it.
Yeah.
What about printing water-based inks?
It's great with water-based. With water-based, we hear a lot of people say that they really monitor that palette temperature. So the color changing feature is great with that. And any extra humidity or moisture that's generated from the water-based ink doesn't affect the gel at all. And we're hearing really good things from people printing water-based inks.
Awesome.
Yeah. And Sean,
When's
I
it
can
gonna-
send you some samples. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, for sure. It'll be ready in November. But we do have some prototypes that we're kind of sending out to get feedback. But honestly, we're at this point now to where we've already gathered all that feedback and we're moving forward with the production runs. So we'll have that stuff ready here in a few weeks. So sometime
wow.
in November, it'll be available.
And how thick is it?
It's 1 millimeter thick. So not quite enough to where it's going to affect your off contact.
Yeah.
But it's thick enough to where it's really durable and you can scrub on it for 100,000 impressions and it won't wear away.
There's only one way to apply it, correct? You can't have it upside down.
You don't put it on upside down. If you do, the bottom side that's designed to go against the pallet, it's the same adhesive that we put on our dual tack pallet tape. So it's the same removable adhesive. It's a high tack. So it can go straight on your pallets and no need for a paper pallet tape. And then when you remove it a few months later, it'll peel cleanly off your pallets and not leave any sort of mess. But I did hear of someone that put it on upside down. And the only thing they noticed was that it wasn't very sticky. And that's because it's that low tack adhesive that's on the bottom side. But yeah, they were able to get it up off their pallets. But the sheet's pretty clearly labeled, like this
Yeah, I
side
was
goes
gonna
against
say,
the pallet.
It
Yeah.
says this side goes to the pallet.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but screen printers don't know how to read or follow directions. I mean, you have to keep that in mind.
Yeah.
With screen printers, we read the directions after we've done it, not before we've done it.
After we screw it up.
Yeah.
So
But it's
are they
not
gonna
the end of
be-
the world if you do.
Are they going to be in set sizes or roll?
Set size, 15.5 by 21 is the sheet size. And we're kind of starting with that. And as we get the construction dialed in and get it going into market and everything. We may do some larger sizes for people that have much larger pallets, but we're kind of starting with this one size to get things going. And if it's too big, we made it so you can cut it pretty easily with scissors. So you can kind of cut it down to any size that you're looking for.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. But yeah,
Oh,
Sean,
yeah.
I'll send you samples.
Yeah,
I'll-
please do. You've
yeah,
got
for
my
sure. Make a note. I do.
information.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I've played with it a bit at my client's place and also at Printing United. And it was in the Vastex booth for the entire show and worked out really, really well. Of course, at a show, we're not cranking out a whole lot of T-shirts. So it didn't go into hundreds and hundreds. But at the end of the show, palette looked great. Didn't see any
Awesome.
kind of issues at all.
That's awesome.
What about if they're cramming the ink through the shirts?
You
And
can wipe the ink off, and
Okay.
any like on-press wash generally works to get the ink off. It's a really durable adhesive. So like with our dual tack palette tape, it's a lower cost per pallet, more like 20 cents instead of $30. But the adhesive on the dual tack palette tape is designed to be a bit more of a disposable. So with the dual tack palette tape, if you got ink on that, it would kind of dissolve that adhesive a little bit, and
Gets a
then
nice shiny spot.
exactly, and then there's really not a way to get that ink off of this, or off of the dual tack palette tape. But on the palette gel, it's a totally different adhesive technology, and
So are you
you can clean
saying
the
use
ink
an
off the
842 ink
surface.
degrader to get it off of the gel?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I've heard people use to get it off the gel. And once we get it to market and everything and get more feedback, we'll have kind of a list of different chemicals that we recommend to clean the ink off. So you know kind of what's been tested. But the 842 I've heard works to get that off.
Cool.
Yep.
Sean,
Yeah.
how's your business been holding up this year?
The last 3 months pretty much sucked.
Yep.
We had the best first quarter we've ever had, and that helped get us through those 3 months. But things have turned around already this last month, and
Okay.
as long as we keep up the momentum, we'll be pushing it to be just above last year, which would still be good with how much we went down.
Yeah,
But
it's pretty much the same story I've had from everyone. Is somewhere around May, everything just died.
Yeah. What do you think the cause is?
I don't. They always throw out an election year, but in my opinion, I don't think that prevents people from marketing their businesses.
Yeah.
I can't imagine how that
I don't
affects
either.
it in such a dramatic way. I don't know if it's the interest rate bumps or, well, hell, now we just got the East Coast all on a port strike. So that started today. So let's see what that happens. What happens
Yeah.
to that now?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's really strange. I don't know if they just all got tight and wanted to give executive bonuses and killed spending, but yeah, we're looking for a big upturn.
Yeah, I spoke to Eric from Action Engineering, and he called me and said, "Man, business just dropped dead in May." Um, he did some calls to some people, and the theory was that whatever money they got from COVID and had that cash reserve and stuff, and were buying equipment, etc., that it
Mhm.
just dried up finally. And all of a sudden, it was their own money, and they weren't so keen on spending it after having all of that quote unquote free money. I don't know if that makes a whole lot of sense or not. I know he called a client of his up in Canada who used to buy quite a lot from him, didn't buy anything from him in the past year based on what was going on up there. So,
Wow.
I mean, there's all kinds of theories. I don't think anyone has a finger on it. I think certainly the interest rate was a factor, in terms of buying certain products. I don't believe that the election year is having that much of an impact in terms of people spending money. You know, if you've got a business and you need to promote it, you still need to promote it. I mean, regardless of
Yeah, I
anything
can't
else.
imagine. Yeah, I
You
can't
know,
imagine holding back on buying shirts for your crew or just
yeah, I mean,
items to
depending
promote your
on who
business
wins the
because,
election, you're
yeah,
going to, yes,
yeah,
promote yourself, or no, not promote yourself. I mean, that doesn't make any sense in my book.
yeah,
But, certainly, I think the interest rate definitely had an impact to some extent. When it's sitting up there at 7% on home buying, it's certainly impacting everything else. Interest rates from credit card companies are up at the 25% range. And so you really didn't want to dip into that very much because that's just a brutal cost.
yeah,
Um, they're going to come down some. Of course, anyone who's already up there doesn't want to lower their rates. But that being said, uh, competition is still competition, should knock it down a bit. But who knows what the next shot the Fed is going to put in as far as interest rates, whether they hold it or go up or go down. Still a crapshoot on that. Hopefully it goes down. I mean, the more it goes down, the easier it is for people to spend money. But I am far from the financial whiz. If I was, I'd have a different business going. So me, I mean, it's kind of like whatever happens, all right.
I don't know, Charlie. You're the only guy I know that wears $400 shirts to screen printing class.
The interesting thing is, I mean, as far as consulting and stuff, my end of it has died. It's just flat as can be. When I put together my summer road trip this year, I didn't even drive. They were so far in between that it was easier to fly and rent a car to drive for an hour than it did to, get in my car and drive for 12 hours to see someone and then not have anybody else to go and see. So my car got a reprieve, if nothing else. But, hopping the airlines was part of the deal. Man, and they have gone ballistic on what they're charging. Holy Christ.
yeah,
I mean, I used to fly from Denver to the Atlantic City show. So I'd fly into Philly and then work my way over to Atlantic City. That used to run about $300. This year, 650 for the same flight. And it was like, for what?
yeah,
Um, you know, it more than doubled. Europe, I haven't been to Europe since last year, but when I had to fly to Munich, normally I'd fly there for about 900. It was 1,700 this time, and Milan was $1,800. And
wow,
it's like, numbers that just didn't make any sense at all.
yeah. It's not like
Uh,
gas prices have gone up that much.
They have, I mean, I don't know where it is in your place. I just got gas the other day. It was in at 3.11 a gallon, which isn't bad for where I am.
Yeah,
It's so bad to hear $3 isn't bad. I mean, I used to remember you'd bitch about it being over $1. Um, and yet the oil companies are raking in massive amounts of profits.
And it's
And
still not as high as it was.
no, I mean,
Well,
it's come
after
down.
COVID, they bumped all those surcharges on, which have now, sort of become, they never see them on the bill anymore, but they're still charging them. And the gas prices probably dropped 30%.
Yeah, I mean, how do you make what $9 billion and raise the prices? I mean, that's got to be outrageous. I don't understand it. Then again, you don't have a choice. You want to drive your car, you're going to buy the gas.
yeah,
And I had to rent a car in California back in February, and it was a pleasure to come back home and spend 3 something a gallon versus 5 something a gallon for regular. I mean, that was just crazy. but oh well,
Yeah.
the way it is. How's it? What else is going on your end of it? You guys going to be doing any overseas shows or
Yeah.
domestic?
We were just talking about that. We're kind of sticking with the Printing United in Long Beach.
Okay.
Um, we will probably go out to Fort Worth and walk the floor of that one.
Oh, well,
But
let me know when you're going to be there because I'll be
yeah,
down there as of Tuesday. So I'll be
okay,
there from Tuesday to Saturday.
awesome. But yeah, no, well, we usually walk the floor of some other shows, but have kind of landed on 2 shows per year for us.
Well, those are
And
definitely the show. January
yeah,
is definitely the show. And of course, you guys cater to outside of the textile industry. So Printing United would be the show to do.
yeah, yeah.
Although
So
this
that,
year, I don't know, this year was kind of squirrely, I thought.
yeah. And as far as international shows, we've done FESPA maybe 4 times, and the last one was right before COVID, and we haven't gone back to go to doing those. The last one that we did, I think ever since they changed the format, it was like every 4 years, and now
Yeah,
it's every year, and it's kind of turned it into what was this mega show that only comes around every 4 years, so it's like you
yeah.
have to go. And now it's more of just like an average show, but I mean, still a good one and everything for Europe. So if you're out there, it's still a good one. But for us to make the trip out, it's just not quite worth it. We may do one in the future, but we haven't recently, and I don't see doing one anytime too soon.
I don't see them
But
catering to screen printing of any kind at FestMec.
yeah,
And
when's the last time you've been out to a FESPA?
so I did FESPA last year in Munich,
Okay,
and it was tough to find screen print.
yeah,
I mean, it just was. They've catered to all the digital, et cetera. Their big promo is all the car app stuff, which again is digital.
hmm,
The shows that I did prior to that back in Hamburg, screen print took up 2 entire halls. The following show, screen print took up less than half of one hall.
yeah,
And now it's just you see nothing about screen print at a FESPA show for the most part. I mean, they have something there, but when I was at the show in Munich, M&R was in the quote unquote screen print hall. They had a really, really small island there with one machine.
yeah,
And then when I went to, I was there with Vastex, and we were in the digital hall, and there were like 2 other, I think, what was it? Anatole was there and Rock was there, both with tiny machines opposite each other. MHM wasn't even there, which is kind of weird because it's in their backyard, but they were not even
yeah.
present.
Wow.
The number of screen print companies you could count on one hand. And as far as I'm concerned, it's probably gotten worse, not better.
Yeah. Are there any other shows in Europe that you think have kind of taken
Well,
over for screen printing?
well, I think part of it had to do, that was in May, and then in June you had the ITMA show in Milan, which, have you ever been to that one?
No.
So ITMA is once every 4 years, and talk about luck. They did it in 2019, and then they did it in 2023. Okay.
Wow.
And that may have had a major impact on FESPA because they did have a screen print area. And I mean, the show was 15 halls, I think. I know they said at the end they had 111,000 visitors. So, and it's a 7-day long show. I mean, it's brutal. Where I was a screen print and digital hall. So it was 2 halls combined. And there was, everyone had major booths there. MHM
Yeah.
did, M&R did, et cetera. So that definitely had an impact on the FESPA show. But that's a once every 4 year show. You don't even go to another hall. You only go to the hall that has the stuff
Yeah.
that you want, because you'll never get through the show. It's really that massive.
Wow.
And then this year, FESPA moved their show back to March and sat on top of the Atlantic City show because of Drupa. Drupa is, again, once every 4 years, and Drupa is 10 days long and is just, I've never been to it. It's just crazy. They're in Dusseldorf. They take up the entire Dusseldorf Messe, which is, I don't know, 15, 18 halls. I don't even know how many halls.
Yeah. Wow.
So, you know,
We need to check out
back-
ITMA. Yeah.
Huh?
We need to check out ITMA. So I guess it'll be 27.
Yeah,
We've got some
and ITMA is definitely one of the shows to take a serious look at. Drupal would be the other one, just because it is so huge and so international that, I mean,
Yeah.
when I was at ITMA, I got to see more people from Sri Lanka, India, Bangladesh. Matter of fact, we went out with a group from India for dinner, which I've never eaten at a vegan restaurant. It was interesting. I mean, I've eaten vegan food and stuff, but and I've had vegetarian stuff, but vegan was kind of interesting. But the group that we went out with was seriously vegan, kind of like if it was grown in the ground, they wouldn't eat it. So it had to be all kinds of vegetation
Wow.
above ground.
Huh.
So phenomenal printers, and the food was great.
Weird diet. Yeah. Yeah.
No,
Crazy.
the food was great, but definitely was not something, you know, I don't have to have meat all the time, but I definitely need to have a variety that's a little different than what they are. And they
Yeah.
prepare it kind of interesting. But yeah, we went to this restaurant in Milan and everyone in there was Indian, other than
Huh.
those of us who were guests of the Indian.
Yeah. Visiting. Yeah. Wow.
Which is kind of interesting. But certainly I would tell you that ITMA was definitely a really, I'll give you an idea of the size. Epson, in the hall that we were in, had the biggest booth. Their booth space, not anything else, just the space that they rented, was $1.1 million.
Wow.
And I don't know how, you know, it was obviously massive. Cornette took up a huge chunk. They had their $1.8 million machine there, along with every other machine that they've made. And their booth didn't come close to Epson's. So interesting.
Wow.
Anyway, that's getting away from it. I know there's a show coming up. I was just informed at Printing United that there's a show that's going to be in Germany that is strictly textiles.
Oh, wow.
New show, and I've got to pick up the information from it. I had it and gave it over to Vastex, but I think it's going to be next June or something like that. But it is a textile screen printing show,
Yeah.
which
Perfect.
I'm interested in hearing about myself. So Femore had the flyers on it. I've got to call up and have them send me the latest information on that. See who the speakers are, see what they're actually going to have in the way of hall space, etc.
Yeah. And you're teaching a class in Fort Worth?
So I'm doing 2 workshops in Fort Worth, one the day before and one the first day of the show, and a seminar. Doing one with Dane, where we've taken an AI image, he's modified it, and so he's going to go through the whole song and dance of working with AI. And then
Nice.
then I've taken it. Matter of fact, I have to go and shoot screens today or tomorrow on that and shoot it down there. So we go through the whole song and dance on the mesh counts, etc., shooting screens, set up the job, print it. And it's a real fun job. It's a longhorn wearing a cowboy hat, doing some barbecuing, etc. Anyway,
Yeah.
fits the area. And
Yeah.
my other one is, I believe, a basic one that I'm doing, and then I'm doing a special effects seminar. So I will have, I think I have either one or two presses coming to the show, and I plan on having your new palette gel on one of the palettes and your
Oh,
palette,
the dual tech palette tape.
yeah, dual tack
Awesome.
on the
Thank
other.
you.
So this way they'll have a chance to see what they feel like one way and the other way.
Yeah. Uh-huh. That's great.
So looking forward to doing that. Just curious to see, what the response is from the class as well.
Mhm.
So that'll be kind of nice. Always interested in hearing if anybody has anything to say about bitching and moaning. It usually occurs during a seminar or workshop only because it's their forum to get it out there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Working on any other projects, or I know
That's it. Yeah.
You and I talked about whether or not you'd be able to put in that next temperature range of about 160.
Uh-huh. That'll be kind of the long-term plan with the palette gel. So right now it goes from green to yellow when it gets up to
Right.
120. But it would be cool if then it went to red when it got above 160. So then you'd know that your palettes are too hot.
Or
And
if it goes to brown, you're getting too hot.
yeah, exactly. See, it does that currently. So yeah. But yeah, no, that long term, that's the plan. The tricky part that we're running into with doing that right now, the color changing pigment isn't very opaque. So it's kind of translucent. Even with 5 passes of it, you still it's not super opaque.
Yeah. I think
so
the way, go ahead.
Oh yeah, no, but we've got different ways of putting it in there, whether it's mixed into the adhesive and or extruded into the film. So we're kind of playing around with some different ways to get more opacity out of it to be able to have that third layer in there and make it go to red when it gets too hot.
I think more and more of the ink companies are bringing down the temperature on their plastisols, certainly, to the 270 range versus the 325 range. So
Mm-hmm.
that higher temperature range on the palette may not be as necessary. But right now on the lower temperature inks, they're looking from what I got from speaking to people at Avient, they like to get the palettes to 120 versus 160. So older inks definitely want the higher temperature, but the newer inks seem to not.
Yeah.
And I'd say that over a period of time, the newer inks are going to dominate.
Makes
So
sense.
might not be that much of might not be worth all the aggravation of trying to work something out to 160.
Yeah, if no one's really getting up there anyway, but it'd be cool to add it. So we'll keep at it, but right now we're kind of focused on getting this construction dialed in just right, gathering all the feedback from different people that have tested it, and making any tweaks before we bring it to market. So then in November, what we have will be as good as it possibly can be, and it's a fun process. It's not often that we put together something new like this. So it's been fun kind of gathering all the feedback from different people and getting a feel for what changes we need to make, and it's been fun.
Nice.
Yeah.
Richard, haven't heard from you much today. How you been?
I've been terrific.
Well, all
Mostly
right.
sorting through and organizing old papers, trying to declutter every day.
Declutter. My wife would like to do that with me, but I seem to get in the way all the time. Had a flood in my basement, and so she's saying, "Oh, well, all that stuff that got wet needs to get thrown out." It's like, yeah, not all of it got wet. Yeah, but it should get thrown out anyway. Oh, well.
Only after I've scanned it. So, for instance, I got a a request for some training documents on meshes. And that meant digging out older articles because nothing's been written about mesh in years.
Yeah,
And it's sort of been a theme since Printing United, which got me really started thinking about, what's happening with mesh, because DTF and how the moving away from screen making means that stencil and emulsion companies are not spending money on developing newer products because it's basically they plateaued. They're awfully good right now, and people are, fewer and fewer people are taking advantage of a high tension that Don Newman taught us to do in the 1980s. So I dug out some old Stephen Abbott articles and that sort of thing to collect, the top 20 things you need to know about mesh. And they're all things that he really addressed in his great book, How to Be a Great Screen Printer, which is, I don't know, 25 or 30 years old nowadays. And there's the article that was in specialty printing, the one that I had to look for. I couldn't put my hands on it right away. Naughty me. It's very rewarding to find the gold in those older articles.
yeah, you're right. You hear nothing about mesh at all anymore. I think the mesh companies, the top ones, are quite content leaving things as they are because they are good. I will give them that. But the only ones that are making any noise are the Chinese with their mesh, which still doesn't perform very well. And other than that, no, I don't think I've read an article on mesh in years.
Huh.
Emulsion companies have definitely nailed it down, though. I think to the point where they've got some great stuff out there, but not sure how much more they're pushing on that either right now. The funny thing is screen printing isn't declining. It's just that right now the big buzz is DTF. And,
Right.
It still makes up such a small percentage of the overall market, but it's definitely the big buzz.
And
Yeah,
I'm getting
Sean, do you guys do any DTF there, or do you buy DTF transfers?
We don't do enough volume to justify even looking at equipment yet. Um, we order from Supercolor primarily because they've got the carbon backing on the blocker stuff. They also, when they Printing United show last year, we brought them a pair of Champion polyester shorts that the Champion reflective logo on them was dye migrating because it was just it was a horrible thing for that. And we tested it on that and it just turned almost tan. So we got a pair of those shorts, gave it to the Australian guy, and that's when they came up with the low melt. It was after they found out that there was an issue with this. So they tried doing a low melt on it. It worked out fine. So they went to a lower temp adhesive, and it made it that much nicer. But yeah, we'll use it. Like for instance, we're actually there was a guy on a Shirt Lab call yesterday that does UV DTF decals. If you haven't seen them, did I keep it or do I have it around here somewhere? Yeah, they're actually really nice. The machines, it will print the white base, then it'll print the colors, and then it'll print a shiny varnish on top of it.
Wow.
And then it's curing as it's printing because it's UV, so that when it goes through the roller area, there's actually a laminate roll attached to the machine as well. So now you don't have to have the extra piece of equipment away from it, but it will laminate that top layer that will remove it from the back. so you can stick it on stuff. So we're actually going to be buying a couple gang sheets of that for our top 20%, and just start giving out things like tumblers that we can just sit there and
Yeah.
apply it to and go, hey, thank you, here you go. And we can get that printed in full color with the suppliers. So it's not something that's going to create a larger labor pool on our side to get done.
Yeah.
So that's something that we've done with the DTF just recently. But yeah, we will use the transfers well before we ever use a screen printed transfer, you know, a single color or anything like that. But and they hold up real well. We got a storage system so that we can keep them a little bit longer. We put the little gel things in them to keep the moisture out of it. But yeah, it's good. We actually bought a MHM, yeah, dual pneumatic press.
Oh, nice.
So the ones, you know, you step on the pedal, it'll move the other one,
Moves
drop
over.
down.
Yeah.
You got laser grids, all that good stuff. And that really increased efficiencies quite a bit as well by just adding that extra pallet in there or platen.
Do you find that customers notice the difference with DTF versus screen, or do they not care?
We don't do a ton of them in replacement of screen printing.
Okay.
We do a lot of it on lighter performance fabrics like Nike and Peter Millar and North Face. We'll actually do those transfers on those lighter garments where it is normally embroidery.
Gotcha.
And it just creates a nice, clean, crisp, bright look.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
All right.
But we're still not moving as fast as we could be right now. So we're waiting for that to hit. Richard's uncannily quiet.
Huh? Yes. I think we're probably talked out. Anybody have any last bits of words of wisdom before we call this off? I guess nobody has the wisdom. Huh? All right. Gentlemen,
I'll
thank
be
you all
watching
for
for that.
being on.
The samples, that'll be awesome. Thanks, Andrew.
Yeah, for sure. I'll send him your way,
Did you
Sean.
text him? You can shoot him a text right now if you want.
Yeah, and I know I've got your address, but let's see.
Yeah, I'll drop you an email with it.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
Perfect. All right, Sean, I'd be interested to hear how you what you think of it once you get it and start playing with it.
You got it.
Terrific. Gentlemen, thank you all for being on. Really appreciate it. Andrew, thanks so much for being the guest.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Charlie.
And look forward to seeing you down in Fort Worth.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sean, I don't know when I'll see you next, but love your hairstyle.
Awesome. Thanks.
Richard, have a good one.
Thank you, Charlie.
See you guys.
Bye, guys.
Yeah.